The following is a commercial program paid for by Heritage Agriculture. The opinions and views expressed belong to its sponsors and are not those of Nexstar Broadcasting, Inc., this station, or their affiliates or employees.
Welcome to Farm Talk, where we look at issues that affect agriculture and ranching here in the natural state. Brought to you by Heritage Agriculture. Here is your host, Mike Linton.
Welcome to Arkansas Farm Talk. I'm your host, Mike Linton. My guest today is the Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Arkansas, Tim Griffin.
Thanks for having me.
Tim, welcome back to Arkansas Farm Talk.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. Hey, we could spend this whole show talking about 2020 in review, but I want to jump right into 2021, okay?
All right. I'm glad you're sort of cutting 2020 short, man. That's a tough one.
Well, we could speak about the whole thing, but like I said, there's no sense looking in the rearview mirror. Let's look forward into 2021.
Let's do it.
Okay. You announced recently you'd like to see Arkansas phase out income tax. What do you think's the important goal for the state, and how would you like to accomplish that?
Well, I appreciate you asking me that. So first of all, to set this up and why this is important to farmers and ranchers in the agriculture industry, we want more people growing our state, bringing their skills here, buying our agricultural products, right?
Yes.
And they do that when they have money in their pocket.
Correct.
And so it boils down to this question: where is money best? In government or in the private sector? Where do we get more out of it? And I believe, and I think the evidence is conclusive, that the best place for money is in the private sector. But there is a need for a government that serves the people, and we've got to fund that. So what you want to do is you want to have enough funding for the government to do what it needs to do with minimal waste, and that's a problem in government. Don't say it's not, because I say it every day. So you want to have enough so you get the government that you need, and then the rest of that needs to be in the private sector. Now, if we look at just locally, meaning in this region, regionally, to our west, we have a state that has no income tax. To our east, we have a state that has no income tax. Mississippi is considering getting rid of their income tax. You know, it may be not long or we won't be able to say, thank the Lord for Mississippi, right? Because they may beat us on that. Louisiana's talking about it. And so the primary reason you want to get rid of our income tax is because you want to attract people with income. You want to attract people who want to move here and bring their skills here and help us grow and make for better jobs. Why? Because I want my kids who are young, I want my kids to grow, to be able to grow up and raise their kids right here at home. I don't want them to ever have to move because of lack of jobs in their particular industry. So the first thing people say when they want to phase out the income tax, they go, oh my gosh, how do you pay for government? You must have to raise other taxes. No, you do not. Here's the thing, Mike, if you were going to get rid of our income tax today, then yes, you would need to go find another revenue stream. But no one is proposing that. What I am talking about is doing similar to what we've been doing, which as we grow the economy and as we have a surplus, reduce the income tax. And it may take 15 years, who knows? It will depend on a number of factors. It will depend on how much does our economy grow? Do we have surpluses? And here's a big factor. Do we control our spending? We don't have a good history in this state of controlling our spending. If we do those things over the coming decade and more, we won't need to raise any other taxes. There's been some misinformation that some folks, there are some people out there, they love their taxes. And when they hear a plan like mine, they get a little scared and they start spreading misinformation. I want to say this to the farmers. No one associated with me, and I certainly haven't, we have never said that we would want to increase anybody's taxes. They got me confused with somebody else. I am about lowering taxes through growth and fiscal discipline. In fact, I would say that some of the exemptions that the agriculture industry gets, not only are they necessary, they're business inputs, right? They're critical for farmers to survive. But I don't think we have enough tax exemptions from sales tax.
Yeah.
We need a tax exemption. We talked about this the last show. When you go buy parts for your agricultural machines, you pay sales tax, right?
Absolutely.
So some people buy them where?
Out of state.
Out of state.
Because our neighboring states don't charge tax.
Because our neighboring states, you're hitting the nail on the head. So I don't think our exemptions for agriculture go far enough. We need to look at that. But let me make it really clear here. I'm not asking for the people of Arkansas to get rid of their income tax so we can get some other tax. That's someone else. That's not me. I want to lower the tax burden. And ultimately, whether it's income tax, property tax, sales tax, all of that stuff together added up is your overall tax burden. And if you replace one tax with another tax, you don't reduce the tax burden. You've just rearranged deck chairs on the Titanic. So I'll just say unequivocally, the goal is to phase out the state income tax and not raise any other tax and not mess at all with the well-deserved imported agricultural sales tax exemptions. And in fact, as we talked about, I think we need to look at expanding some of those sales tax exemptions for agriculture. That's important. Now, how could this misinformation have gotten out there? Well, it could have been someone just talking, but let me tell you what it really speaks to. It speaks to a culture. We have a culture in this state where almost every good idea that people come up with in the legislature, they want to raise a tax to pay for it.
Yes.
Now, that's ridiculous. I used to think about some folks that I work with that the last thing they would ever do is raise taxes. But you know what I've learned? The last thing they would ever do is reduce spending. The last thing they would ever do is do the hard work of making state government more efficient, to do the hard work of making state government give us more value for our money. That's the hardest thing. So what I've learned is the second to the last thing they would do is raise your taxes. So here's the way it works in the legislature. Somebody will come up with a great idea, and then they'll say, we need some money for it, and so we're going to attach a tax increase to it. And so people are put in a position where you can't be simply for or against the good idea. You're for or against the good idea with a tax increase. So they pitch it this way. If you're for this good idea, then you're for raising taxes. If you're against this good idea, you're against raising taxes. Those are the two choices. In the War College, we studied these kind of choices. You know what that's called? It's called a false choice. Mm-hmm. Why is that a false choice? Because there's a lot of other choices. Here's the one I'd like to hear someone say. You know what? I'm for your great idea. But I'd pay for it, not with tax increase, with finding some waste in state government. We spend on total about $26 billion. Our general revenue budget is a little over $6 billion. But no one can ever find $10 million for, say, whether it be the 9/11 bill, whatever it is, that costs a little more, but they can never find the money to pay for the good ideas. The only way they conclude is we must raise taxes. Wrong. That's the problem. We need people thinking about that alternative way. Good ideas are great and we need them, but they don't always require a tax increase. Yeah. So I wanted to talk about that because at the end of the day, why is agriculture in business? Well, they love their work, but they got to put food on their own table. And if we put more, we got to put food on their table and they got to have money in their pocket. If we put more money in the pockets of farmers, through the tax code and allow them to continue to have the tax exemptions for sales tax, et cetera. No one's talking about messing with any of that. They're going to be better off.
They are. They're going to spend cash.
They're going to spend cash.
We're still
going to
generate
have
the
more
money.
people wanting to move here. Think about this, Mike. A couple of legislative sessions ago, tons of folks, I don't remember the number, but it was an overwhelming number of folks in the legislature voted to exempt military retiree pay from income tax. Well, why did they do that? Did they do it because it was a bad idea? No. They did it because they knew a lot of military retirees were either A, leaving the state when they retired out of Little Rock Air Force Base, for example. They were either A, leaving the state to go to a state that didn't tax their income, or B, they weren't thinking of moving here. That's why we did it. Okay, well, we admit that it works there. What about Texarkana? I am so happy Texarkana doesn't pay income tax. They have an income tax exemption, and it dates back to the late 70s. Well, I'm glad they have that, but why do they have that? So that people weren't moving across the border. Well, we admit it works there, and that was passed under Governor Clinton, I believe. We admit it works with veterans. So we've basically admitted it works.
Sure.
The question is, how do we get there?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Forging that path, setting that long-term vision.
Yeah, Lieutenant Governor, I love that you're talking about cutting taxes in the state of Arkansas for all Arkansans, especially farmers and ranchers. I want you to hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin.
Good times and hard times, Arkansas Farm Bureau is there. We're always working, so our state's farmers and ranchers can continue to put food on store shelves and on your family's dinner table. We support training for medical care in rural communities and the industries that provide materials needed for critical supplies. Arkansas Farm Bureau, working every day to keep Arkansas strong.
Since 1921, we've been supporting rice farmers across America. These are the farmers who own our co-op, who prosper together, striving to do more for their communities, going deeper, working smarter, growing stronger. That's how we make good even better. That good comes from the time and toil they're passing down of a way of life that supports not only their families, but families all over the world, so the world can be served with great food. Riceland. United, we grow.
Now's the time to get a great deal on select Kubota compact and subcompact tractors. Our reliable #1 selling tractors are designed for easy operation and feature all the performance-matched attachments needed to tackle any job. Right now, get 0 down and 0% APR for 84 months and save up to $1,700, plus no payments for 90 days.
Welcome back to Arkansas Farm Talk. I'm with Arkansas Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin. Tim, we were talking about cutting taxes. We've talked about in the past, our farmers and ranchers and everything that they have to do, and everything is so expensive. Okay.
Yep.
So a lot of the equipment is tax exempt, but parts are not.
Right.
Especially our surrounding states that we have to, work with and work around sometimes.
Well, we're going over there. A lot of folks are going across the border.
Yes, we need to keep the money in the state.
Yeah, you got that right. And I know as someone who is in that business, I know you would really like to see that, so that folks aren't leaving you, right, and going somewhere else. Look, I think that's a great idea. I don't see, certainly it's something that will be a priority for me, but I think we ought to see somebody raise that in this session.
Yes.
And make no mistake about it, what you will hear more than anything is that, well, how are you going to pay for it? Well, let me tell you what, we got to absolutely pay for it. But here's what I know as certain as I'm sitting here. No one in the state government in this state, or probably any of the other 49 states, and no one in the federal government can tell you that all the money they take from you, and that's what taxes are, nobody can tell you that all that money is spent wisely. And if it's not spent wisely, that means we need to always be looking hard and even harder to find those places and use that money for beneficial policy like you just mentioned.
Absolutely.
And look, I think that's important, and that's the sort of thing that hopefully we'll see raised in the legislative session. But let me just, one more thing I want to say on taxes. Don't ever let anyone tell you that they want to pay for your tax relief by raising another tax. That's a gimmick.
A bait and switch.
Because ultimately, it's all out of the same bank account. Yes, there are certain preferences that people have toward sales or income or property or whatever. But if someone takes $100 out of your right front pocket and puts $100 in your back left pocket, you haven't benefited. You've just rearranged where the money is. And with all due respect, we've made some progress over the last 6 years. We've cut, the governor gets credit, the legislature gets credit for reducing the income tax. No question about it. I applaud that, and I've been vocal about that. But the reality is, and no one wants to talk about this, not me, but the state has had another 6 taxes raised. Mm-hmm. And you don't hear much talk about that. Those are always called investments.
Yeah.
Right? So the reality is there's been a lot of taxes cut over the last 6 years. There's been a lot of taxes raised over the last 6 years. And so the goal is to say, okay, do I have more money in my pocket now? Because I do have more from the income tax, but maybe I'm paying more somewhere else. Look, that just needs to be part of the discussion. I think that's a fair thing. But let me just make clear. It is not my goal to raise any other tax. It is my goal through economic growth, surpluses that come from that, as we've continued to have the last few years, and fiscal discipline. Those are the things that over 15 years, coming decade, whatever, will move us toward no income tax.
Yeah. Cutting taxes benefits all Arkansans.
All Arkansans.
Especially farmers and ranchers, but all Arkansans.
That's exactly right.
Okay?
Yep.
What other issues would you like to see the legislature address this session?
Well, look, I think that...
I know that's a broad question.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned, for farmers, I mentioned this issue of tax treatment and sales tax. But I also think there are some discrepancies, we've talked about this before, between the depreciation that farmers and ranchers can take under the federal code versus the state code. If we would simply at the state level match the federal code so that we have the same rules, so there's consistency, then I have been told by folks in agriculture that would be beneficial. So that's something I think we need to take a close look at. We'd have to get the details exactly right, but that's something we ought to be doing. Look, I am all about asking people in different industries, give me your top 5, give me your top 10 things that make it harder for you to do business.
Yeah. Hold that thought, Mr. Lieutenant Governor. We're going to take another quick break. We'll be right back with Arkansas Farm Talk.
Mow, dig, haul, trench. The versatile Kubota BX Series subcompact tractor does it all. Switching attachments is simple, and a smooth hydrostatic transmission makes for easy operation. The Kubota BX Series, the #1 selling subcompact tractor in the U.S. for over 10 years. Talk to your local Kubota dealer today to schedule a demo.
This is a seed bag. This bag is made of craft paper with a cellophane liner and provides nothing for seed growth. This is a seed bed. It was prepared with Case IH soil management tools. It optimizes everything from nutrient access to water infiltration to create the perfect environment for early, uniform emergence. Get to know why your seed bed drives productivity at caseih.com/soil management.
Since 1921, we've been supporting rice farmers across America. These are the farmers who own our co-op, who prosper together, striving to do more for their communities, going deeper, working smarter, growing stronger. That's how we make good even better. That good comes from the time and toil they're passing down of a way of life that supports not only their families, but families all over the world, so the world can be served with great food. Riceland. United, we grow.
Now's the time to get a great deal on select Kubota compact and subcompact tractors. Our reliable #1 selling tractors are designed for easy operation and feature all the performance-matched attachments needed to tackle any job. Right now, get 0 down and 0% APR for 84 months and save up to $1,700, plus no payments for 90 days.
Welcome back to Arkansas Farm Talk. I'm with Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin. Tim, we've talked about taxes, we've talked about depreciation. Okay, COVID-19, the vaccine's here. Let's talk about the vaccine just a minute.
Sure. Well, look, I have not had it yet, but as soon as it is available to me, I will be taking it, and my wife will be taking it. It's safe, and we need to, ultimately, the goal should be to get the jab, the vaccine, in as many arms as possible. And I said yesterday, I think it was on a tweet, look, we can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. We've got these categories. But you know, there are some folks that just haven't moved quickly to go get it. And my view has been, give a category a certain amount of time, and then when that time expires, open up the next category. Because there are people that want to get it in their arm today, and the ultimate goal, yes, we need to prioritize for the more vulnerable in our society. I get that, and for healthcare workers and all that, and we are prioritizing that. But let's not have a situation where we've got all these supplies just waiting for people to take them. Let's get them in people's arms.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm ready. Let's go.
Yep.
We need to do that. You know, what are some of your thoughts? We've talked in the past about workforce education and training and how it relates to agriculture.
Sure.
Let's hit on that just a minute.
Yeah, look, this is so important because for years we were told really what was an untruth. And a lot of people were well-intentioned saying it, but they were telling everybody, hey, you got to go get a 4-year degree. Yeah. You got to go get a 4-year degree. And the truth is, we should have been telling people there are all sorts of jobs and educational levels up and down the spectrum. And you need to find where your passion lies. Now, that's not always the most popular with parents. If you say, well, this person, this Arkansan, doesn't necessarily need to get a 4-year degree. But I just tell you, everybody's got a gift. And I believe people are happiest and they are most successful when they are pursuing their passion. And now we are getting there. We're not there totally yet, but all around the state. And I was at Lone Oak where they just opened up a new workforce training part of the high school.
The new Lone Oak Business Academy.
That's exactly right. I've seen those in Clarksville. I've seen them in Springdale, all over the state. This is outstanding. And the governor's done some good work. The private sector has really led on this because they looked around for years and didn't see people with the credentials they wanted. So the private sector said, instead of waiting on this school or this school to provide those, we're gonna create that curriculum ourselves.
Yeah.
And Mike Rogers with Tyson's been a big participant in that. He's a big leader on that. And so here's the great thing now. Whether you're getting high school training, whether you're getting a certification right out of high school, 2 years, 6 months, 4 years, master's, doctorate, whatever, there is a spectrum. And you may spend a little bit of time or a lot of time in training. But the key is do what you love. And there is a place for you along this career continuum where you can make a good living, providing for your family, be happy, and you can build on that training over the years in your career. Look, I was talking to a gentleman yesterday who's trying to train more people for truck driving. We need more people who are qualified to drive trucks. We need more diesel mechanics.
Absolutely.
And you know, I talk a lot about science, technology, engineering, and math because those are the jobs of today and the future. That applies to agriculture.
Absolutely.
A lot of the stuff that y'all use, the equipment, the machines that y'all use are so highly sophisticated. You have to have technical training or you can't fix them.
First thing we do today is our service technicians hook a laptop up to the tractors and the combines.
You got it. Well, you're confirming. So that's been going on around the state. But that needs to continue to be a priority because every community does not have access to the same training facility at high schools and community colleges that all the other communities do. So we've got to continue to preach this, and we've got to continue to emphasize it so that people, young people here in Arkansas, know that they don't have to fit in a cookie cutter mold for their future. You don't have to fit into something that somebody told you you had to do. You can choose and follow your passion, and there are great alternatives. If you're not interested in a four-year college, there are great alternatives where you can build a career, build on it over time, provide to your family, and in many cases make more money than if you would have gone another route.
Yeah.
So it's a great thing that's happening, but we've got to continue to do it and not get left behind by other states and countries.
Well, Lieutenant Governor, I appreciate you saying that.
Man, I am fired up. I love this show. Next time, bring some catfish.
I want to thank you for everything you do for all the farmers, ranchers in the state and all Arkansans.
Well, I can tell you what, I eat a lot.
Well, look, you can
we
tell
got
I do
that.
too.
We got that going for me.
We'll see you next week on Arkansas Farm Talk.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Arkansas Farm Talk, brought to you by Heritage Agriculture.